Times they are a changing around college football, I believe, unless you live under a rock or you've been completely detached from what's gone on over the past 48 hours in college football. Not even that, with the Texas-Oklahoma news of these two schools, and it's almost a done deal, moving to the SEC. And of course, this is a Miami show, we understand, but as a college football fan, you should care and understand what the ramifications could be. Not that Miami's moving anywhere, not meaning that, but for the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12, there could be huge ramifications in regards to keeping up with the vaunted SEC. We got Paul Scoop on the line to break down Miami football and so much going on just with the team. And of course, hey, they're actually going to play football here at some point. But Paul, we appreciate you stopping by as always. It's always good to see you, get your perspective on things.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. Thank you again for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to talk Canes football and college football with the man of YouTube, Mark Rogers, the voice of college football. So greatly appreciate it.
Appreciate that so much. People leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics in the live chat. And before we get started, because I don't want to miss this point, Paul's got a ton of just outstanding content on his YouTube channel. So you see it right there, Paul Scoop on the U. Paul, what have you been up to recently?
Yeah, we just had the entire Fegans family, Traquan Fegans, who is going to be making his college announcement, his commitment at the end of July coming up. We just had his entire family on, and I believe it's 6 brothers we had on roughly. So check that video out. I had Blaine Gilmer, SEC recruiting analyst of Rivals. He was on my Believe in the U podcast with the Believe Network, and I uploaded some kind of short clips of his predictions on Shamar Stewart and Jacob Hood, where their recruitment stands right now.
All right, let's get to some serious news before we hit the football field. And unfortunately, this goes beyond the playing surface. We love talking about the games, talking about the recruiting, everything that involves football, but unfortunately, life gets in the way. And Avante Williams charged in a very serious matter of domestic violence, and he's been dismissed from the football team.
Yeah, so I'll just state the facts. Avante Williams Wednesday night was charged with 3 counts of aggravated battery. During that time, a spokesperson did state that they were aware of, the situation with Avante Williams and that he was suspended indefinitely. Move forward to present day, he has been dismissed from the football team. So that's where things stand right now. Avante Williams is not a part of the University of Miami. And, I just pray for, the people that were hurt in this situation. And, it was a pregnant lady. And, I just hope she's okay and the baby's okay. I really do. And everyone who was affected. It's an awful situation.
Absolutely. So much hope, so much promise about Avante Williams as a football player at the University of Miami. Obviously, the talent is obvious, but the more important aspect is what Paul just pointed out. The child, the mother, that they're safe, that they're good, that they're not going to be physically, mentally damaged for a long time concerning this situation and what happened. And we don't want to presume the guilt. Of course, we live in a free society. Doesn't look good, but certainly want justice to be served in whichever direction that is. So Avante Williams, we hope, again, justice is served. And I'm right there with Paul in regards to the 2 most important people involved in this situation are the young woman and the child. And then if Avante Williams can get his life together past this, that would be tremendous. All right. So that's if we take the human side of that out of play and just look at the football, that's obviously a huge blow to this football program, because you and others that follow Miami football were looking so forward to seeing this guy on the field making big plays for the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, his story was a wild one. National Signing Day, it seemed like everybody and their mom thought he was going to go and play for the University of Florida. I think even their cake was blue and orange. And then he announces, no, he'll be attending the University of Miami. Everybody was just shocked. It was like the number 1 safety in the nation, number 2 safety, best safety in the state of Florida, picking Miami over Florida. This is huge. I mean, he's in the central Florida area. I think he's out of DeLand Heights, Florida. My apologies. Which is, I'm in Miami right now, so everything's north when I'm in my perspective. But, ultimately, After he commits to Miami, they find an injury with his neck. He's not able to play his freshman season. He's going to have to take a medical red shirt, sit on the sidelines until the medical staff clears him to play. And when he was cleared to play, a lot of people were excited. And then there were, the incident Wednesday night. He was charged with 3 counts of aggravated battery, and he's been dismissed from the football team. So, yeah, it's definitely in a very unfortunate situation. And, Miami right now at the safety position unit, there's a lot of depth there. There's a ton of talent, and Miami is in a good spot. Obviously, Avante Williams was a very talented young man, could have done great things on the football field. Where do we stand right now at the position unit, at the safety position unit? We have James Williams, Cam Kitchens. Look out for them to get a little bit more playing time, get some snaps, get a little, maybe a preview of them, their freshman season. Bubba Bolden, Gervin Hall should be your starters right there. And then you have Keyshawn Washington and Brian Balaam. Look out for Keyshawn Washington. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time. He's going to fight for a lot of playing time this upcoming season, especially early on. I think that's a sleeper in that group.
All right. Also, some additions to the 2022 class just here recently. You got to be excited about that in regards to Justin Medlock. And it's also Mr. Carswell into the fold. So your thoughts about, based on the information you've gathered, your scouting reports, what you've seen on tape with those two?
Yeah, I think Justin Medlock is the perfect linebacker to play in the 4-2-5 scheme. He has a great football IQ. He's very athletic, well-around, just solid linebacker. He plays in a good high school football program down in the state of Texas. This was a nice get, to cater to that 4-2-5 defensive scheme Miami has. I think it'll be a nice transition. I think you'll see him early on as a rotational linebacker. And we needed to sign a linebacker in this class. Our personnel unit right now could use all the help they can get talent-wise. I think Justin Medlock will be a solid linebacker at the Power 5 level. I'm not going to say he's going to be a starter day one, but I think this is someone you can trust in your college football program to get a lot of snaps early on and used in rotational situations in a 4-2-5 defensive scheme. The one player that just committed to Miami who I'm very interested about, Valenta Carswell. He's 6'7", 275 pounds. He's literally been playing football for less than a year. This is a complete project. This is something that Garen Justice can get his hands on and really try to develop Valenta into really a premier NFL player. There's not many times you get a lot of 6'7" offensive tackles out there in the game of football. He was a former basketball player, just started playing football, picked up offers from Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, Miami, NC State. Miami's taking this on as a project, and it's really on the coaching staff if they want to develop Valenta Carswell. I think he has a very high ceiling, and I think he brings a physical and violent presence that you're going to see as he plays more years of football under his belt.
He took visits to North Carolina State and Georgia Tech this past month and committed to Miami as the 63rd rated offensive tackle. This is probably a rating that means less than just about anybody that we talk about, but 63rd rated offensive tackle in the country, 72nd rated player in the state of Florida. And as Paul mentioned, 6'7", 275. So here's my first thought, not a coach, not a scout in any way, shape, or form. Just watch a lot of football and talk about it constantly, would be that you would think maybe the speed and explosion aren't there because for somebody who doesn't know anything about football or knows very little, that's not a cut on the young man. That's just based on inexperience. That offensive tackle and offensive line are pretty difficult to learn. Offensive tackle, a lot of footwork, backpedaling, a lot of coordination with the other offensive linemen. His size measurements, if he's got the explosion, seem like edge rusher guy. Where you just put him on the edge and just say, go get the quarterback. And there's a lot less to the position than playing offensive tackle.
Correct. Absolutely. No, like I said previously, Mark, this is going to be a complete project. Who knows? I mean, he may pick up bigger offers from big time programs as his senior year carries on. I really think Miami just wants to get him in the program, put on some appropriate weight, and just see how he looks at either left tackle. I think primarily that's where he's going to be at the next level. Put him at right tackle. But my whole thing is wherever you put Valenta, stick with him the entire 4 years. If it's left tackle, keep him at left tackle. Don't switch him over to right tackle tackle, shuffle him over. I know he is early on in his football career, less than 1 year playing, but just keep him at one position. And hopefully that's the goal for Miami and develop him properly because, look, he's a former basketball player. He's athletic. He has probably his wingspan is amazing. You put him in the weight room, the appropriate strength and conditioning program. Really, this could really be a recipe for success. I know it's a 3-star recruit, not the, sexiest kind of 5-star rating, 4-star rating that you're looking for, but it can really work down the road. It's not going to be an instant success year 1, this year 2, but keep him in the program, develop him year 3 or year 4. It could pay off.
All right, we're getting a number of comments in the live chat. Don't know if you've had a chance to see these. So concerning other players that might be in jeopardy. So Mr. HD heard Holly not on the team anymore. Maybe Cam Williams too.
Yeah, someone approached me on Twitter and said, "Hey, did you hear about Jalar Holly and Cam Williams being dismissed from the team?" And the person did say it was due to grades. I have not confirmed if that's the appropriate reason. I did confirm with Jason from Stadium Drive Podcast, who does a tremendous job, and he's pretty legit when he drops any information. And he did confirm they are not a part of the program. The funny thing was, because the Miami Hurricanes football team, one of their editors on social media, he made a post about Rolling Loud, and because I get there's an event, I think, at Hard Rock Stadium called Rolling Loud, and it's a venue where people attend. They listen to music there, so they kind of did a similar format. They put the offense, they put all the players offensively. They put the defense, all the players defensively. Holly and Cam Williams, their names were there on the defensive side of the football. So there was a joke, like maybe the editor didn't know at the time they've been dismissed, but this is fairly recent news if it does go through. I don't want to bring up news that hasn't been reported yet, but those are just some things floating around right now. So just take it with a grain of salt, keep it in your back pocket, and let's see what happens.
Absolutely, because I Googled Cam and Cameron Williams, Miami. I'm not seeing anything pop up on online. Nothing there right now. This guy, we've seen him check in from time to time here on the live chat, the Wholesome One. Of course, the Wholesome One, yes, joins us every Thursday talking Miami football. So join us with the Wholesome One every Thursday, and mutual admiration here, society, with Paul and the Wholesome One. Both do an outstanding job. I get these guys on as much as I possibly can to talk some Miami football. Wholesome One, good to see you, man. All right. Also, yeah, D-Rock Irish, I'm all over the place. Yes. It's only 3 so far, so we're revving up with all this Oklahoma, Texas business. It seems like can't talk enough about that. Anything else on your mind? When do the Canes actually go to camp? Do we know the exact date?
It's August 6th, I believe. They'll be entering camp. Manny Diaz, I believe, reported that in kind of the ACC kickoff. And, man, I cannot wait. I think we're seeing a lot of strong leadership coming out of the football program, something we haven't seen before, and I hope I'm right on that. I think it can be a huge recipe for success. I interviewed Trayvon Hill previously, and he said, the leadership wasn't that strong at Miami. There wasn't a lot of bonding whatsoever during his time there. He was just there for 1 year, transferring from Virginia Tech. But he said Virginia Tech, maybe because there isn't a lot to do in Blacksburg, that they had a lot more bonding at Virginia Tech as a team, a lot more team activities. They're the leaders of the team put together. And hopefully that translates now with De'Ara King, Bubba Bolden, and Mike Harley as the captains of this football team. Those are 3 guys who are going to make a big impact for this football program this next upcoming season. And I strongly believe it starts with those 3 guys, De'Ara King, Mike Harley offensively, and Bubba Bolden as our leader on the defensive side of the football. And last thing I want to mention, Manny Diaz was praising his special teams, and I really do hope it translates to the regular season like we saw this past season, because at the end of the day, special teams wins you a lot of football games like we saw in 2019, 2018, where Miami was not successful at all. Special teams plays a huge role, and a 6-7 team, 6-6 can go 9-3 because of special teams, in my opinion. Those close 3 lost games can change everything with the appropriate kicker and punter.
Appreciate everyone being here on the live chat. Leave your comments, your questions for Paul and myself. And also hit the like button, as James and others are letting everyone know. Hit the like button. It means a whole lot. When you go watch Paul's videos, hit the like button, support it in any way. Grab the link in the up at the top of the bar there. Hit the link, and when you grab Paul's videos, watch them, share them out there on social media, because if you enjoy the content, if you're soaking it up and you like it, others will as well. So bring other college football fans and Miami fans over to my channel and Paul's channel as well. All right. A couple questions for you. One would be, if you could put an ISO camera on one player. So, of course, you're going to watch the Alabama game live, and I'm sure you're going to go back and dissect it. But if you could have like an ISO just follow one player the entire game, who would you want to watch play after play after play, just to watch how they respond that entire game?
Oh, man, that's a great question. That is a fantastic question. God, probably someone in our offensive line. I mean, Zion Nelson would be a great candidate. This entire offseason, there's been projections of him going in the first round, being as much as like a top 5, top 15 pick. I want to see how Zion Nelson stacks up against a defensive line reigning national championship unit. I want to see how he plays and, just his response throughout every single drive. Zion Nelson, to me, the whole story was incredible. 2-star recruit, committed to App State. Now he's at Miami. They take a chance on him, and now he's a projected first-round pick. I think that's a great player to look at. But ultimately, for me, I think it's De'Ara King the entire game. You have to see how he responds in this situation. I'm this whole game mind boggles me, Mark. It really does. Just Alabama. I don't know what the outcome of the game will be, because seeing past Miami Hurricanes experiences beforehand, we felt completely short against Clemson. We felt completely short against LSU. We felt completely short against Clemson again in the ACC title game. We were missing a bunch of players, which is true. But, against the elite opponents, we really don't show up. And North Carolina was another example of a great football team we played this past season. So, personally for me, it's going to have to be Zion Nelson or De'Ara King.
D-Rock Irish, this guy could write promos for me. Appreciate you jumping on here. If you want a temperature check in the college football world, check out Mark's podcasts and college football channels he covers for the latest news. I even broke away from my Notre Dame podcast today to check out his shows. Man, when I can pull D-Rock Irish away from his Notre Dame podcast, wow, appreciate that. Next question for you, Paul. If I could give you a piece of information, a stat, a fact, any piece of information today that I knew about the end of the season, that we could look forward in time and you could grab one piece of information, whether you're looking at a box score or somebody's touchdown passes or any kind of information. For example, I'll give you one example. I thought of this question talking Florida State football, and I said, if I could have any piece of information to give me the best clue, the best read on how the season went for Florida State, I would want to know today, how many games did Mackenzie Milton start and how many did he finish? If I could know anything, that would be my question. So for Miami, if you could get any piece of information, any stat for the final of the season, to know right now, to give you the best indication of how the season's going to go, what would that be?
I think penalty yards and penalties overall. Pick against premier opponents such as North Carolina, Alabama. We're a very undisciplined team this past season. We were heavily penalized. That continued drives as well. I think stopping third down conversion rates as well against Clemson. I'm going to keep going back to this game because our opponent is the reigning national champions, and the closest thing we got to that this past season was Clemson. So I think that's the only game I would really cater to instead of a weak Virginia team or an NC State team. So what you did against Clemson, you let them convert consecutive third down conversions, let the drives keep going, and you gave up a lot of yards and penalties as well. So I want to see how many penalties, are against Miami and how many yards and penalties come from that. So I think that's one fact I'm going to be looking at specifically.
DJ, thank you so much for the super sticker there. Appreciate that so much, that contribution there. And we also have our guy, Mr. Prime, showing up basically going back to the Clemson game as you just did. I, of course, watched every play of the game. I can't recall necessarily how De'Ara King looked. I've watched a million football games since. So any response to how De'Ara played against Clemson last year?
So long ago. From what I could remember, it was a long time ago. I mean, look, it wasn't his best game. No, it wasn't. He did not play good. Our entire team didn't play well, to be honest. We could not get in a rhythm offensively whatsoever throughout the game. I felt like, in my opinion, I mean, his biggest play throughout the game was that long, like 50-plus yard run. I thought we could have ran more with De'Ara King using his legs, which can open up a different part of our offense, was my opinion of how I saw that game. And unfortunately, our defense, like I said previously, our defense was giving up a lot of third down conversions. We were committing a lot of penalties, and we were giving Clemson a lot of second and third chances, and they ate us apart. So our offense really didn't show up whatsoever, and that whole game was kind of something you wanted to forget. And I do agree. I don't think it was his best performance by any means.
Paul, we've talked many times with you about the coaching staff, about Manny Diaz himself growing as a head coach, but also the coaching staff. I think everyone's generally happy with the addition of Rhett Lashley, T-Rob in the secondary, although we have yet to see it, but we know his track record. How do you feel about, with the other changes to the coaching staff, just the overall coaching staff as it stands going into 21?
Well, I think in the sense of recruiting, I think we're seeing it right now. Recruiting's been a complete 180 at the secondary position unit. We have Chris Graves. We're going to land Traquan Fegans as well at the end of July. That's what all expectations say. If you want a little insight of that, you can go to my YouTube channel. I just interviewed the entire family. And we also, did land Kamari Rogers as well. So that's going to be projected wise. You're going to get 3 4-star cornerbacks. Hopefully, I'm confident Fegans will be a Miami Hurricane. So let's say he does pick Miami. Those are 3 4-star cornerbacks you're going to land in this class. That's a complete 180 that we've gotten from previous years. And, now it's up to development. What we're going to see from our secondary as a whole. Can we get better from previous seasons? So I think that's what I'm really going to be focusing on. Travaris Robinson's impact. I know he can identify elite talent. Now, we saw that he can develop that as well at South Carolina. Let's see it happen at the University of Miami. But I'm extremely satisfied with Travaris Robinson coming in, Jess Simpson as well. I think we all saw what he did, which was a tremendous job in 2018. I think he makes the best out of the players he has. I don't think this is our strongest defensive line unit we've seen. I think depth-wise, we're a lot more heavier, more complete at D-tackle than we have been in a while. Our edge rushers, that's a big question mark for me. But I think with Jess Simpson, he's the appropriate coach to lead this defensive line unit. So Travaris Robinson, Jess Simpson have been huge additions to the program. And, DeMarcus Van Dyke has been doing a really good job recruiting as well. For someone who doesn't have the most experience in college football, and he's still building his resume because he was going to go to Utah State and Miami brought him back. I think he's done a very good job so far in this early recruiting class at the cornerback position unit.
And yes, everyone, I am listening to Paul. I am paying attention. I'm searching my laptop for questions that have come into previous videos just to see if there's anything I want to serve up to Paul while we've got him on the line. I want to address something that's going on in the live chat. So George, who's a Florida fan, has entered into the live chat and acted like a moron. So that's basically what's happened. I'm not tracking every little comment and so forth and so on because I want to have a balanced comment section live chat where people are comfortable to come in here, poke fun at each other, have fun, trash talk a little bit. And when I say trash talk, I'm talking about football trash talk. I'm talking about have fun, make fun of the other team, whatever you want to do. I have no issue with that. Let's leave, definitely, we leave gender out of it and race and religion and all those things. Push those aside. We say that all the time. Leave that out of the conversation. Then when we've got a situation like what just happened concerning Avante Williams and that situation, then as I see it, I haven't seen every single comment. George, you need to shut up and stop saying anything more concerning how Avante Williams came to this place in his life. So you have no idea, and you're just trying to irritate people, and you're successful at that. So if I see another comment in that direction, I'll kick you out. Somebody else had commented that I need to kick somebody out because they're not a Miami fan, but that's not the standard for who I kick out and don't kick out. It doesn't have anything to do with I'm just going to let Miami fans say whatever they want and other people get kicked out. No, it's anything inappropriate. Again, I want us to be able to have fun, and you should be I don't want it to be strict enough to where we're kicking people out just for having fun and poking fun at other teams and stuff. That's trash talking. That's, if it makes any sense, respectful trash talking, but let's not cross the line concerning incidents like that. All right. Let's see if I can come up with another good question for Paul, because everybody's been so consumed in trash talking against each other. We got no good comments or questions coming in the live chat, even though we've got about 103 people on here. All right. How confident, you mentioned the run that De'Ara King made against Clemson, and that being, and I remember exactly what you're talking about, that particular run. I know this is difficult since you're not on the practice field and so forth, evaluating his rehab.
Yeah.
But in regards to that element of his game being what it should be, needs to be against a team like Alabama, where it's going to be one thing if you've got him at full strength versus, okay, we still want him to play and he should be playing, but we're going to have to kind of take that element completely out of the game plan.
Yeah, that's one of those things, like, we're going to find out when we suit up against Alabama, to be honest, because like I said, I'm not at the practice facilities. Only the players are, only the coaches, they're seeing him throw. Like, a lot of people get excited over a 30-second clip of De'Ara King just warming up with shorts on saying, oh, he's back. Like, put on the pads, go to Atlanta, line up against the reigning national champions, and then we'll see if someone's back or not. But until then, like, short video clips of him passing a football mean nothing. I hope he's 110% ready to go and he has a full recovery. But we're going to find out a lot in Atlanta once we suit up against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Game 1, we better be ready to go. And, you mentioned running the football against Clemson. We only had 8 rushing yards with our 3 running backs. Just talking about those 3 running backs specifically combined. Only 8. We're going to have to get over 100 to compete in this football game, to be honest. You can't have 8 and expect to win a football game against the Alabama Crimson Tide. So, like I said, that game against Alabama, there are a lot of question marks I have, Mark, and I honestly don't know what kind of Miami Hurricanes football team we're going to see, how healthy De'Ara King's going to be. It's going to be a very interesting, is it 3 p.m. game, I want to say, in Atlanta against the reigning national champions. I can't wait.
D. Hernandez and everyone else, thank you so much for the support. We appreciate the kind comments, and we will keep the content coming. And thanks to guys like Paul coming on here to provide his expertise on the Canes. Oklahoma and Texas, it almost appears as though it's a done deal. Go to the SEC. If you want my opinion, not that I'm necessarily going to hold back on it, but we've got Paul on here for a reason. I've got umpteen different platforms and videos and live streams out there with my take on the situation, but I'd like to hear from Paul here. So what was your initial response, and how do you think this affects the landscape of college football?
Yeah, so I'll kind of start you off from the beginning. I saw a tweet that mentioned Oklahoma and Texas have inquired about joining the SEC, and I thought it was a parody account tweet. Like, that's something I would have never imagined in anything, in my head. Oklahoma and Texas, just geographically speaking, it's called the Southeast Conference, correct? That's what the SEC stands for. Yet, I understand Texas A&M is in the SEC now. I understand that, but now you're just taking 2 of the most elite programs in the Big 12. You're joining a super conference. We saw this try to happen in soccer. They tried to create a super league, taking some of the best clubs in each league and just creating one instead of focusing in on the Champions League, which is all the leagues in Europe included. And the entire football world was against it, the whole soccer world, whatever you want to call it. Mark, we're entering a very strange place in college football, something we've never seen before. I don't know what the state of football holds moving forward. I hate this idea. You're creating an elite conference and you're dismantling the Big 12. where do we go from here, Mark? I'm serious. Like, I just don't even know what to make of it. I think it's a sad day for college football. I would love to hear someone who likes the idea and the reasoning behind it, because now you're just going to have a bunch of teams in one elite conference just beat up on each other. And now there's even a bigger argument. Well, we have 2 losses. We should get in over a 1-loss Clemson, a 1-loss Miami. Like, I thought the beauty of college football was having conferences with their own identities and regional rivalries, the tradition of college football. And now it's just money. It's just money hungry. And you're putting everyone in just one big conference. The Big 12 identity is gone. The Big East Conference used to have an identity. It's gone. Someone mentioned the Pac-12 today, and I completely forgot they existed. I know Oregon, but I don't have time to wait till 10 p.m., 11 p.m. to watch Pac-12 football games. They're basically non-existent. Big Ten football has Ohio State. The ACC has Clemson. North Carolina might be building something with Mac Brown. Miami has its history and its name. But, I mean, it's really just the SEC now that's the identity of college football. And it's unfortunate, and I think it's a sad day for college football. And I don't know what the future has to hold, but I think we're in a very strange and unique place because we had the name, image, likeness bill that went through. Players are making money off of their own name. They can profit off of their own image and likeness. That's never been done before. And now you have an elite super conference in the SEC that, if they were elite before, well, they just became more elite. I don't even know how you can create that. And I don't know. I really don't know what the future of college football holds. And I think it's just really money hungry joining the SEC. And I don't know if this is the same college football that you and me kind of watched growing up.
I'm right there with you, Paul, because I think the issue is, to extend on your point, is that if you really look at the product on the field's amazing. We all love college football. The games are amazing. But what makes it truly special beyond what's happening on the field is the fabric of it woven within Americana. And when you think SEC football, you think certain things. When you think Big Ten football, you think certain things. When you think the Big 12, the Pac-12, etc., because it's not just tied to the football in the field. The football in the field is a reflection of the traditions and the rivalries and even music and food and just the culture in that area of the country. Yep. And that's what makes it interesting when, a great Big Ten team plays a great SEC team and we have these cross, when UCLA would come to Miami and play, all those things. It's just because there was something different about the Pac-12 when the Pac-12 was playing relevant football. USC, UCLA, Washington, and we've basically destroyed that to a certain extent. But this is just further tearing that apart. When Nebraska is in the same conference as a school just outside of New York City, what New York City and Nebraska have to do with one another is, Nebraska is almost more than half a country away from New York City and Rutgers. Like, these conferences are ridiculous already. And to your second point, now we've taken the best conference in college football, and it's not that close. I think maybe it's overstated by some people, but it's the best conference. It's not debatable. And then you add 2 of the top, I'd say 10 programs, even though Texas has not played like one, but in terms of money and brand and all those things, and you move them into the SEC, the Big 12's going to crumble. Those teams are going to scatter to the other conferences, or even if they're able to manage it, they're going to pick up like Memphis and Houston, and they're going to become like the American Conference. Yeah. And even like the Big Ten, which right now, from a competition standpoint on the field, most people would consider to be the second best conference in the country, but not with the SEC. But in terms of money and rear ends in the seats and TV ratings, the Big Ten is right there with the SEC. But I think, not that anybody's going to cry for Ohio State or Notre Dame or Michigan, but the recruiting difficulty of what Ohio State's doing right now, going to Florida, grabbing all those great players in Texas. Well, suddenly the SEC becomes even more like, that's where it's all at. Why would I go somewhere else and play games that people aren't watching? And
that's exactly what I was thinking, Mark. You had the most elite competition to play football. Why not just play in the SEC? If you want to play with the best of the best, you're Kentucky, South Carolina, Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, Auburn, LSU. I mean, just the list goes on. Florida, you're going to just play with the best of the best competition. And why join a conference like the Big 12 that there isn't really that good of competition? Why join the Big 10 where it's really just Ohio State and everyone else? ACC, Clemson, and everyone else. Really, they've won how many ACC titles consecutively? 7, 8, 9. I lost track. I mean, it's a routine for them. So, the SEC is really making a statement. And Mark, right now we only have 4 spots in the college football playoff, right? Okay, someone goes undefeated outside of the SEC, but we have a 1-loss or 2-loss situation, but they've been playing a couple of those opponents that hit the college football playoffs, right? Let's say Oklahoma has 1 or 2 losses, but they went after Alabama and Georgia, who are in the college football playoff. Who gets in now? Does a Clemson get in, or does an Oklahoma for that last spot? It's strength of schedule. If you're going to take that into consideration, I mean, SEC is going to have that edge every single time. So I'm really curious what's going to happen. Like you said, the Big 12, either it's going to collapse or pick up smaller programs like Memphis, SMU, or some random schools. What's going to happen there? UCF is a Power 5 program. I'll state it forever. They have the largest university, one of the largest universities in the United States. They have a great head coach in Gus Malzahn. They have great facilities. They've won 6 10-win seasons in the past 10 years. They have the appropriate resume to be a Power 5 program. They're a lot better than some programs I can mention. So, hey, will they join the ACC? I don't know. They should join a conference. Notre Dame, are they going to join the ACC? Someone I spoke with said, hey, like they can hit the Big 10. Big 10 has money to grab Notre Dame. So there's a lot of big question marks out there. West Virginia, they have a lot of big rivalries with Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech back in the day. Maybe West Virginia will be eligible to join the ACC. So I don't know what's going to happen, Mark, but I think it's fair to say we're in a very unique and strange place right now in the state of college football moving forward, something that I don't think anyone really imagined. And at the end of the day, if this is going to ruin college football, creating an elite super conference, I'm not for it. And I just think it's very money driven, money hungry. And I think people are talking 12 playoff spots right now. And that's completely fine if you want to talk about it. But I guarantee you in 10 years, 15 years, we'll have a 64 playoff team.
You might be right. Wow.
I guarantee you we will. And I could be wrong on the 10 or 15 year mark, but I guarantee you we will have 64 like a March Madness setting.
I do think that grabbing Notre Dame and UCF for the ACC makes total sense. And I drew that up a few years ago, but it's still not going to be as good as the SEC, but it's at least going to be formidable if Miami and Florida State can raise their game to where it's supposed to be. And really for the Big Ten, now the Big Ten to a certain extent is going to be fine, but I don't know that they just want to be okay. They don't want to become the Pac-12, 15 years from now. So the only way, there are no other Oklahomas or Texases out there for any conferences to go grab. So you're going to have to take teams from other, like the ACC and the Big Ten would have to get together and say, what are we going to do about this? Are we going to get together and drop our worst teams? And
yeah, I don't, there's a lot of question marks. It's very unknown what the future of college football has to hold after this. And, like we saw with the Big East Conference, it basically was dismantled and the AAC was basically formed. And I agree with what he's saying. I think a lot of people will stop watching college football if they turn into a March Madness. I mean, I think it's going to be more than 16. And I think it's a very interesting time we're living in the state of college football. And I think it's very unfortunate things got to this state. And I think a lot of people are not happy about it. I think the heavy majority are sad about it.
Paul, you are welcome to stay, but I want to respect your time, so you take off whenever you need to. Our comment on the screen right now is asking about Anthony Lucas's recruitment. Do you know anything there?
Yeah, so I had him on my show. I interviewed him. Great kid. Anthony Lucas, he was being recruited by Coach Ishmael Aristide in Texas A&M. Anthony Lucas's father was a little bit disappointed Miami did not offer him early on, because his father attended the University of Miami. That's his alma mater. Number one player in the state of Arizona. He should be a 5-star recruit. He's currently listed as a 4-star, but that will change. That connection is with Ishmael Aristide. They're both of Haitian descent. They both speak Creole, the native language of Haiti. The ball's on Ishmael Aristide's court. He needs to fight off Alabama, all the elite programs you can think of. But that connection was built with Aristide at Texas A&M. Now he's at Miami. If Aristide never comes to Miami, that connection is dead. We'd never have a shot with Anthony Lucas, to be honest. So, look, I think Aristide, that's his prize right there, and he just needs to finish the deal. But he's going to have to fight off with some of the big dogs. And I think a good game against Alabama can really help us in that recruiting battle.
Somebody else in here, and I don't remember what the reasoning was or who it was, and I can't find the comment now, but basically was touting the 4-3 defense as being possibly the way Miami should go.
Well, I think we've had a lot of success running a 4-3 defense. At times, I think the heavy majority of time 4-2-5 defense, we play a lot of soft coverage. And I think we saw that against Clemson. They just really utilize a lot of short passes and picked us apart. That's what Trevor Lawrence does best. He gets rid of the football very quick. He analyzes open receivers in open space. And that's how you beat Miami. Miami's defensive scheme right now, 4-2-5, is designed for a pass-heavy spread offense in a Big 12 style football. And I don't think it caters well at all to ACC play or, to an offense like Clemson that literally once they started picking us apart in soft coverage, we then rotated to a tight man coverage. And then we went out and threw a lot of deep ball passes, and they beat us in man coverage every single time. And they relied on their wide receiver play to make great plays. And that's how they beat Miami, with a lot of penalties committed and a lot of third down conversions converted. They didn't run the ball all over us. It was really just airing out the football and, opening up the offense with a lot of short passes. So, no, I agree. I'm not a fan of the 4-2-5 defense. That's what Manny Diaz wants to run. Let's move back to a 4-3. I'm all for it.
Got Paul Scoop on the U right here at the Voice of College Football. So check out his channel. I hope that most of you are subscribed. You should all be subscribed. So head on over there to Paul's channel, Paul Scoop on the U. And somebody had asked in here also just about a general recruiting outlook, if there's anything coming down the pike that you were expecting, anything in the near future regarding
Yeah, I would say Snoop Amamal. He's an offensive lineman out of Utah. Had him on my show. Great kid. He really is. He's a good kid, man. He's someone who's going to be in your program. There's not going to be any problems. He's going to make good grades. His upside is huge. Big physical kid. He has all the Power 5 measurements out there. I saw him at Paradise Camp without really even knowing who he was. And I'm like, who is that? Looks like a Power 5 football player. And, 2 days later, news comes out about Snoop Amamal receiving an offer, get him on my show, and just fell in love with him. I think that's someone to keep your eye out at the offensive line position unit. Daughtry Richardson, another offensive lineman out of Miami Central Senior High School. Seems like Florida State and Kentucky are in the mix. He's making his decision soon. Latest was he's really liking Kentucky a lot. So this could be a similar situation to Isaiah Walker, where commits to South Carolina, picks Florida, ends up going to Gainesville, realizes he made a bad mistake. So I think if Miami has a solid regular season, they can still land Daughtry Richardson. But just look out for those two names. And Traquan Bagans, man, look, I'm pretty confident Miami's 100% locked in with him. I think that should be the next man to look out for. And Isaiah Horton, I believe a Tennessee 24/7's recruiting analyst, has him going in the direction of Miami, and that would be a huge pickup for this wide receiver core.
Paul, I don't know that I've ever gotten your take on the whole rivalry aspect of this in Florida, because depending on who the Miami person is that I have on, or the Florida State person, there's always a slightly different perspective on the Miami and the Florida rivalry, the dynamic of the Sunshine State, and who you hate more and who you respect more and who do you want to see play. And so as a Miami guy, what's your take on the Gators, the Noles, anybody else? UCF is obviously a player to a certain extent. And, where is most of your passion or venom directed?
I think it's Notre Dame, to be honest.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Like, with teams you have to beat when you play. It's just the thing with Florida, man. Like, we don't play them at all. History wise, I think it was like every other year we used to play them, or it was after Orlando. The last time was I want to no, it was Pro Player Stadium. We played them at home. We beat them. I think Driscoll was their quarterback. Then before then, it was with Tebow at Gainesville. We lost to them, and then we played them with the Brock Berlin comeback. So it kind of loses its kind of that competitiveness, that lust of the rivalry when you don't play them every other year, every single year. Where Florida State, we go at it every single season, even where we weren't in the same conference. So I think with Florida State, I think there's a huge respect amongst Florida State, Bobby Bowden. Prayers to him and his family, what he's going through. Stand-up guy who did things the right way and always scheduled Miami. He said, if we're going to be the best program in the nation, we have to beat the best. So, a ton of respect to Bobby Bowden and a ton of respect to the Florida State football program. I think it's, a lot of brotherly love. And Florida's kind of like, their fan base is a little bit different. Like, they're not really obnoxious in the sense, they come across obnoxious and like kind of different, like you can sense they're being polite, but they're like faking it. I don't know. It's just odd. So like, they don't have like the worst fans, but they know, you can smell it in the air. You kind of get like that vibe. Like they just don't like you. Like they're judging you per se, because you're Miami. But I mean, we rarely play Florida now. So it definitely lost its steam, the rivalry. I still don't like them. I still want them to lose, because when Florida's winning football games, they're the most annoying people ever. Like, believe me, they're very yeah. You're right. They're I take that back. They're fairly obnoxious.
So I know you're not looking past anyone. You've learned too much through the years for Miami to look past anyone. No. But
yeah,
this season should come down to, and I'm not talking about like to try to get to a playoff. When I say the season, talking about the meaningful games are the ones in the conference to try to win a conference championship. It should come down to Miami at North Carolina. If you're looking at talent, who's got the best teams, who should have the best teams, that's what it should come down to.
That is such an interesting matchup, Mark. Like every game Miami plays in Chapel Hill, whether they win or lose, it's always a close game for the most part. I mean, I can't remember the last time Miami has won a blown out game in Chapel Hill. It's always a shootout. It's probably going to be a night game. Sam Howell's probably either the best or the second best quarterback in college football. Their offense is stellar. I believe it was like it was literally a number. It was like 18 players or 20 players that started the game against Texas A&M or returning for North Carolina. Miami's returning a whole bunch of players as well. That's another game. I mean, I honestly think, does one loss in the ACC Coastal, does two losses in the ACC Coastal get you through the title game? I don't think so. I think one loss does. I think it's going to come down to Miami, North Carolina. North Carolina does have to play Virginia Tech first game of the season in Blacksburg. That's a tricky one right there for an upset alert. But, man, I think one loss in the ACC Coastal gets you in. I don't think two losses does. I think you're playing with a lot of fire.
And to finish off and honor D. Hernandez super sticker earlier, he's looking at just kind of an overview of the defensive backfield.
Look, I think this is going to be the strongest secondary we've seen in Miami in a while, and I think I'm very confident in our play. Keep forgetting about him because he transferred in. Tyreek Stevenson, he's going to be a huge impact. Remember the name. It's going to be a game changer this upcoming season, and he might be the reason why we beat North Carolina, because we got to stop him throwing the football, because Sam Howell, he is going to put up numbers if we don't. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. I love Phil Longo's offense. We better be ready to play, and it starts with our secondary. So Tyreek Stevenson is going to be the biggest difference maker on our secondary specifically.
Cheryl, thanks for being here. Thanks for letting everyone know to hit the like button and support here at the Voice of College Football. Again, for anybody who's not subscribed and checking out the videos on a regular basis, head on over to Paul's channel, Paul's Scoop on the U. Get subscribed over there. Check out the videos. He dropped a few names, and I know that he's got many more interviews. So he is doing a great job tracking down some of the top young players that are connected to the Miami program that are being recruited in the recruiting process or recently committed to the U. So check out Paul's channel. Paul, always appreciate you stopping by. It's always a great conversation. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.